Welcome, everyone. Tonight is Chanukah. Get the basic story and understand more deeply. Chanukah means to inaugurate. During the Second Temple, the Greeks made decrees to try to crush the Torah, crush Judaism, separate us from God. And we fought a war against that. And we won. We re-inaugurated the temple. And that is called Chanukah. Chanukah means to inaugurate. But this is a unique one because we don't really celebrate the first temple's inauguration and the second temple's first inauguration. We don't really celebrate. This inauguration is crucial. The word Chanukah also stands for Chanukah, that they came to rest on the 25th. The date is the 25th of the month of Kislev, and that seems to be crucial. Why is the 25th of Kislev in the name? The date Chanu, they came to rest. Ka is 25. They rest on the 25th, the date of Hanukkah. That's built into the importance of the day. Let's understand that. Now, let's get the basic story. The Greeks tried to stop, as we said, Judaism, made all the decrees to stop and to block it. And their goal was to push the Greek philosophy, which had swept through the entire world and became the predominant belief system. And they had a tremendous agenda with crushing the Jewish belief system, which was really the antithesis, because it was the one real philosophy that they had to fight. Everything else, people were embracing Hellenist ideas in other places in the world, right? The Persians, they were all thrilled in the beginning to take on, well, Persians for the power, but the idea of the Greek philosophy was taken on and embraced by the world. The Jews are the ones that said, no, we don't want this. So they fought this war. The ragtag bunch of sages, the Kohanim, went and they fought against the Greeks. And when they finally won, they went into the temple and they wanted to light the menorah, the candelabra. But they found that the Greeks had made all of the oil impure. They had touched it, they had used it, they had exposed it to their impurities, and there was no oil that was pure. They found one little small cod, one small jug of oil that was enough for one day, that had the stamp of the high priest, that was not made impure, and they used that. And it lit for 8 days, and it was only enough for one day. And hence the miracle of the 8 days of Hanukkah, because it was only enough oil for one day, and God made a miracle that lasts for 8 days. But the story is very strange, because the law is, if the items that are impure, the oil is impure, and there's no other oil, then the impurity for the whole community is pushed off, and they could have lit from the other oil too. They chose not to. They said, we're only going to light from this one little oil that is totally pure, and Hashem provided the miracle that it lasted for the 8 days they needed to go and to bring out the other oil from the places they used to draw the oil from. Why didn't they just light the regular oil? And what's so essential about this date of the 25th of this month of Kislev? What is that about? And one other thing that's very strange is our menorahs are eight candles. They're because it was 8 days. But in a certain sense, it's imagining, reconnecting us to the lighting of the menorah in the temple. And that was a 7-branch menorah, not an 8. So why is this 8? Now, you could say simply because it was 8 days, but obviously everything we know is much, much, much deeper than that. You could also say on a simple level, which is true, you're not allowed to light a 7-candled candelabra, because it's only for the temple. So this one was 8. But obviously there must be a deeper reason why that was 7 and this was 8. Especially in light of the verse in Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, it says, Ten chelek, give a place to 7, the gam l'shmona. There's a place for 7 and a place for 8. Let's understand this. When The battle of the Greeks and the Jews were happening. It was a battle of the mind. Was very different than the Babylonians or the Persians, who let the Jews do what they did and they wanted their power. This was a battle of which philosophy was correct. Now, the Greeks, they did have wisdom, but where did their wisdom originate? It originated in the human mind, which is beautiful because God made the human mind. But beavers could build dams and ants could make ant colonies, and there's tremendous wisdom in the creation. The wisdom that we're searching for is the way a candle works, because there's the entity that's called the candle, the oil, and there's a wick, and there's a light that comes from above. The light is beyond, and it now affects the wick and goes down into the oil. So the person is a human being, and he has the way he's built. But if he wants true wisdom, he needs to go and to become a vessel to get the light that goes from above. That's what has to be. Now, wisdom is always synonymous with light, right? You say, oh, I could see this. It makes sense. I see it. It's clear to me. Why? Because the eyes are a vision of understanding something very, very clearly. Now, the word to see, ro'eh, to see something clearly, to have the wisdom, is the same word as yirah, which is awe, to have awe of God. And that's what the verse says. Reishis Chachma Yiras Hashem. The beginning of wisdom is the awe of God. Meaning, the greater I think I am, the more my vessel is closed, the less I can get from above. The more I realize this is way beyond me, I can become a vessel to receive the infinite light from above. Now, let's understand, based on this, an amazing, amazing thing. In the temple, there was the 7-branched menorah, candelabra, and the 7 represented this called 7 traits, or even 7 secular wisdoms, it's called. And the light was the ore that influenced and that permeated the person's traits and permeated his knowledge. Fascinating, when Solomon built the temple, he built the windows in a strange way, that they were narrow on the inside and wide on the outside. And the Talmud says, because you shouldn't think that they needed the light. No, the light was going from the temple outside. So if the windows were built in a way that was narrow in the inside, so it would be little light coming in, but it would shoot the light out because the light was coming from the temple. The lighting of the menorah was to give us the ability to be able to be a vessel to get the light and expand that out into the entire world. That is literally why there's 7 in the temple, and maybe we could say why there's 8 in the candelabra. Because what happened was that 7 represents the idea, we've said many times, of this world. This world has 7 days of the week. There's 6 sides to any physical 3-dimensional object. And the 7th is the goal, is the thing itself that you're going towards. The 6 days of the week lead to the Shabbos, which is the purpose of what we're moving towards. Now, what happens, though, that the 8th is called beyond. 8 is beyond. That's why the bris milah service is on the 8th day. So 8 always represents the space that's beyond. So in the temple, what was happening was that Hashem was giving the lights into the 7 aspects of the world and pushing them out. Now, for some amazing reason in Chanukah, we're able to have a reflection of what this would mean when the light expands to the 8th beyond. Let me explain this. We said that the holiday is the 25th of Kislev. That's not an arbitrary day. Think about it. We know that the world was created on Rosh Hashanah, but that's not exactly correct. Adam and Eve were created on Rosh Hashanah. The world was created 6 days earlier, which is the 25th of the month of Elul. So now, if you count from the 25th, 3 months later, you're at the 25th of Kislev. What does that mean? Listen, it's an amazing, amazing thing. First of all, it means that the cycle of the seasons, the 4 seasons, the 25th of Kislev in the original system of the world is going to be the darkest time of the year, the winter solstice, which is what it is. And that's why in the darkest time of year, what happens is you have to go and have a light because there's confusion now. We've moved from the fall to the winter. We're going to go afterwards to the spring. And so the 25th of Kislev, in a certain way, is the 3 months, the beginning of creation. It's the darkest time. It's when the winter solstice is. But another deeper thing is, we explained many times that 3 is when something comes to an expression. You have 1, and then you have oneness, then you have, let's say, you have husband, wife, and then the child. The 3rd is where we come into the full expression of things. And therefore, if you look, what was created on the first day? The first day was created light. That doesn't mean physical light. I mean, I guess that in a certain sense, yes, also, but it means the supernal light. The Oregon is the light of created entities being able to experience the infinite. That began on the 25th of Elul. Now it comes to fruition 3 months later, in the 25th of Kislev, Chanukah. How does that happen? Because there's 2 different ways that light functions. One is it's given from above, and the second one is you could be a vehicle to receive it and return it. That's called the written Torah and the oral Torah. The ones who led this revolt against the Greeks were the Kohanim, who were the teachers of Torah. They had to get the Torah and they had to now take it and be pure and give it back. And that is the light of Hanukkah. And that's why the whole story is the battle of the wisdom, battle of the light. Because what happened was that the beginning process starts, the light is created. And then when it comes to fruition, there has to be a vessel that receives it. The Hashmonaim, the Kohanim that say now we are going to take this light and be a pure vessel to give it out and bring it out in the darkest time. That's exactly why Hanukkah happens in the darkest time, because you can't see. It's now dark, but now there's an internal wisdom that's coming out that is expanding to the entire universe. That's the light, and that's why it's now 8, because 8 represents the idea of it coming to fruition. That's also why the word for oil, shemen, is from the word shmona. It's from 8, because it's the wisdom that's from above. And with this, we can understand why they would not light from the impure oil. Technically, they could have, but they realized that the biases that they had in themselves from the Greek philosophy and those other ideas would make the light from above impure and not be able to shine out. And that's why they refused to do it. They gave themselves over to Hashem and said, we want to do this in the purest way because we want to take the wisdom that you're giving us and not mix in my own agendas, my own biases. I have to take that light and give it out. And that is what Hanukkah is. It's the darkest time of the year. You light the menorah outside in the public place, in a place that seems to be impure and lost in the darkness. Greek was called choshech, called darkness. In the first verse, in the second verse of the Torah, it says there was tov, avo, and choshech on the depths. And tov was called the Babylonian, abo, who was called was called Persia, and darkness was called Greece. Why are they called darkness? They were so smart. dark. Yeah, but it was darkness because they took pure light and they mixed it up in a way that represented something completely different. And came along the Kohanim, the teachers of Torah, and said, no, no, no. We're not, anything that they made impure, we're not touching. We're only going to take the oil that's pure and that can actually bring out the true endless light. So we should be merit on Hanukkah to be able to touch that. It is dark now. It is a dark time of year. It's cold in most places in the world. And you feel stuck. And there's a little light that goes. That little light is what gives the light to everything. It shines out and brightens up the entire universe. All the best.